You've probably bought the teething toys, the silicone ones shaped like fruit, the chew necklaces, the frozen washcloths, the sensory-safe mouthing sets that show up in every baby registry checklist, all designed to give your baby something safe to give a chew on. But here's something that might surprise you. Your baby isn't just chewing because her gums hurt. She's actually running one of the most sophisticated learning programs of early childhood, and she's doing it completely for free with whatever's within reach. Because that constant mouthing, the remote control, your keys, the corner of a book, isn't random, and it isn't just about teething. It's how your baby's brain gathers information about the world before her hands, eyes, or words are developed enough to do the job. Researchers who study infant development have a term for this stage, one most parents have never heard, even though nearly every baby goes through it. It's called the oral exploratory stage, a period where the mouth, not the hands, is your baby's primary tool for learning. Picture this. Your baby picks up a small block, and instead of examining it with her eyes the way you might, she brings it straight to her mouth. She turns it over with her tongue, presses it against her gums, pulls it out, looks at it, and puts it right back in. That's not confusion. That's data collection. Her mouth has more nerve endings, more sensitivity, and more fine motor control at this stage than her hands do, which makes it the single best tool she has for understanding texture, shape, weight, and temperature. Once you see mouthing as a learning tool instead of a habit to stop, this whole stage looks completely different. For a long time, the common assumption was that mouthing was mostly about teething discomfort, something to manage and eventually phase out as fast as possible. Soothe the gums, move on. But researchers studying infant sensory development found something more interesting. Mouthing actually peaks well before most teeth even arrive, and it continues well after the first few teeth are in. That timing doesn't line up with a teething-only explanation. Instead, it lines up almost perfectly with a different milestone, the window when your baby's hands are still clumsy, but her mouth is already precise. Long before she can reliably grasp, rotate, and study an object with her fingers, her mouth can already tell the difference between smooth and bumpy, hard and soft, cold and warm. Think about what that means. Mouthing isn't a workaround for immature hands. It's a temporary upgrade, nature's way of giving your baby a highly sensitive tool to use while her hands are still catching up. And here's the part that matters most. This stage shows up across every culture and every family researchers have studied, regardless of income, regardless of how many toys are in the house. A baby with one wooden spoon to mouth and explore is running the exact same developmental process as a baby surrounded by an entire shelf of educational teething toys. The stage isn't purchased, it's built in. Now picture the mechanism underneath it. Every time your baby mouths an object, sensory information floods into her brain, texture, temperature, hardness, shape, and gets cross-referenced with what her eyes are seeing at the same time. That cross-referencing is a foundational piece of how she'll eventually understand that the round red thing she sees is the same round red thing that feels smooth and cool in her mouth. It's an early rehearsal for connecting senses together well before she has the words to describe any of it. Here's a study that captures just how far this goes. Researchers looking at infant object exploration found that babies given the chance to mouth an unfamiliar object, say a small textured ring, later recognized that same object by sight alone faster and more accurately than babies who had only been allowed to look at it without touching it to their mouths. The mouth wasn't just soothing, it was actively building a more detailed, more lasting memory of the object than the eyes could build on their own. In some of the classic work in this area, researchers even found babies could match an object they'd only mouthed, blindfolded from seeing it, to its correct picture afterward, showing just how much real information was getting absorbed through that seemingly simple gnawing. That's a strange thing to sit with. Your baby's mouth, in some ways, is outlearning her eyes at this age. So here's the important part, and it's worth saying clearly. This is not about letting your baby put anything and everything in her mouth without a second thought. This is about understanding why she's doing it, not about blame for the mess, the germs, or the occasional battle over a phone charger. So what can you actually do with this in about 5 minutes a day? First, offer variety instead of just one texture. Rotate in objects with different surfaces, a ridged silicone toy, a smooth wooden spoon, a slightly bumpy fabric ball. You might say, "Let's see how this one feels," as you hand it over. Second, narrate what she's discovering. While she mouths an object, describe it out loud. "That one's cold," or "that one's soft." Simple lines like that link the sensory experience to language, even though she can't respond in words yet. Third, let the exploration run its course instead of redirecting too quickly. If it's a safe object, resist the urge to swap it out the moment she starts mouthing it. Something like, "Go ahead, check it out," said quietly, gives her the time she actually needs to gather the information. None of this requires a specialty teething set or a sensory subscription box. A wooden spoon, a cool metal cup, and a soft cloth from around your own kitchen can offer just as much real texture variety as anything on a store shelf. Because it was never about the product. It was always about the variety and the time to explore it. Think back to that little block turned over and over by her mouth instead of her hands. The cool metal cup, the soft cloth. Every one of those ordinary objects quietly building a map of the world in her mind. None of that required a specialty toy. It required curiosity, hers, and a little patience, yours. And if you're watching this while eyeing that half-chewed remote control with a sigh, take this as a small reframe. You're not just tolerating a phase, you're watching real learning happen right in front of you. That's a parent who's paying attention to more than just the mess. If this changed how you see that constant mouthing, the smallest thing you can do is subscribe so more of this reaches you as your baby grows. If you know a parent mid-battle over a chew toy right now, a like helps this find them. And if you'd like more of these, new videos on early development land here every week. That object in her mouth was never just a toy. It was a lesson, and she was already halfway through it. That's the whole shift, and it was smaller and sweeter than it looked.